Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Secret Origins of Mint Condition. I am one of your hosts, James, and joining me is Joe
Hey folks, how you doing?
and Chris.
Let's effing go.
Yes, and we are finally doing it, audience. If you listen to our New Year's special, we kind of started this episode, but now we're going to finish it. We are talking about Deadpool Wolverine. All three of us have finally seen it, as you know, from New Year's. It was in the top five, our top five list for 2024, and so we're going to dive in. I will just say right from the beginning, spoilers. We are talking about all things in this movie. If you happen to be on this episode and you have not watched Deadpool Wolverine, you're, I guess, of a small majority of people
We're on the moon.
who have not seen this movie, but that's fine. We love you. We still love you as a listener, but you might want to hit pause and watch it and then come back. So, I don't know if we should rehash what we talked about in New Year's or just go by continuity and just keep going with our conversation. But I think where we left off, we gave a lot of love to Hugh Jackman. But I'll just go into this, and talking offline to Arco when I think I spoke to him. I am not the biggest Deadpool comic book fan. I don't think I've really read a Deadpool comic book. I've tried. He goes, Hoopla has a whole bunch of them, has a whole bunch of Deadpool epic collections and miniseries, and I've read a couple here and there, but the character on the page doesn't do a lot for me. I think it is a character that Ryan Reynolds is born to play. Obviously, he's Deadpool 1 and 2 are fantastic. This movie is no exception. I think he carries the same level, and if not giving Deadpool a little bit more heart and maybe, I mean, not that Ryan Reynolds is a bad actor, but I think acted even more. He matched Hugh Jackman.
I think Hugh Jackman. I think he elevated with Hugh there. Yeah.
You got to bring your A game when you're up acting opposite Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Yeah, because like Chris, when you mentioned like he's like after Hugh like spends like rips him a new one in the car verbally, and his face, even with the mask work that he's doing, you could see his body language and his face drop. Yeah. He's like, "No, I'm going to fight you now." I think he was like, for the emotional, serious scenes, Ryan Reynolds really bought it. But I bring that all up just to say, like, I love the Deadpool movies. I love Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. This movie was amazing. But what do you guys think of Deadpool outside of the Deadpool movies?
I was never a big Deadpool comic book fan. Also, I read a few. I read him when he had his adventures in was his first appearance. Oh, Arco, I wish you were here, but I'm pretty sure it's New Mutants '98. Is his first appearance. I have that book. I got to get it slabbed because it's worth a lot of money.
I think Jack shared that that's the one book he has as well. That's his prize book.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So yeah, I was never a big fan of him, but I became a fan of Deadpool when I saw those first two movies. I knew I was going to see them. I saw that trailer. It was freaking good. I said, it's Ryan Reynolds. He's funny. He's engaging. He draws you in. He's a movie star. He's a presence on the screen. Not so much physically, but he's a presence in the way he, this is acting, the way he comports himself, especially when he's doing comedy. So he's just, yeah. And then you get Hugh Jackman back, who said he would never come back, right? And you get him back, and like, holy cow, this is like, okay, guys, let's get this right, because this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And boy, they hit it out of the park. This movie to me is kind of like, I was trying down some notes just before. Road Warrior meets Beverly Hills Cop, or Road Warrior meets Lethal Weapon, something like right. And I love those type of movies, especially the buddy movies. And this is the buddy movie of all time for CBMs.
Absolutely, so, yeah. Chris, what's your? I just figured we give some love to Ryan Reynolds and also our background with Deadpool, because we've spoken at great length on this podcast about Wolverine. But Chris, what's your thoughts about Deadpool on the page and then Deadpool in the movie?
No, I'm glad you brought up Ryan Reynolds, because I don't know that I would have brought him up otherwise, because I was just obsessed with Hugh Jackman for this. No, this is possibly the only time that I will ever utter this sentence. And if this is the first time anybody's ever heard it, or the only time anybody's ever heard it, like, you're welcome. For me, Deadpool is exactly like Captain America. I had no interest in this character until portrayed on film.
Yes.
James, we've talked in the past. We've talked about how Captain America, who's interested in the Boy Scout, he's really boring. He's a super soldier. Great, good for him. And then the way Chris Evans portrayed him in the MCU really brought us around on him, right? And so, just like he's the definitive Cap for me. Ryan Reynolds is the definitive Deadpool for me as well. but and not just definitive, because I don't know how many other people are actually going to play Deadpool anyway. But it's more that like I don't actually care about Deadpool as a character, except in these movies. I'm not really interested in the merc with a mouth. Like if I want if I want the the fourth wall to be broken, I'm more likely to go to Animal Man. Honestly, if I'm reading comics, I find Animal Man more compelling as a character. I think the stories are better written. And hey, listen, like I shouldn't say that, because I haven't read that much Deadpool. The Deadpool I have read is just kind of bored me. So for me, Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Reynolds is really what makes the character for me. And I like that as much as things are about Deadpool, I don't feel like the movies are about Ryan Reynolds, and I think that's one of the things that I love about it. Like there's a lot of love given to co-stars, cameos. This is one of the very few times that I feel like, oh, look at all the fan service he's doing, but it also works with the story. It works with the movie, right? And that for me is really unusual. I've seen fan service in Star Wars, and generally I hate it. I've seen fan service done in other areas of the MCU and in DCEU, and I hate all of that. I've seen it done, and I generally don't like it. I just think that Ryan Reynolds, as a producer, as a writer, really, really knows how to do it in a way that like it works. It works in the most bonkers of ways.
Yeah, I would agree. I think from interviews, like I think he wants everyone else to shine, and he's the vehicle for that to happen.
Yes. Yeah, and you get that from basically anybody who works with him. I mean, just a couple of examples. All the stories that came out about how tightly Madonna guards her music, and what it meant for her to actually like let them use her song, like a prayer for this movie. That was a big get. That was a big deal. And whether or not you respect Madonna, she tends to be really, like, again, tight with her music. So, like, that must have meant that Ryan Reynolds was onto something. It wasn't just a boatload of cash. Madonna can find that anywhere. For Hugh Jackman, too, it wasn't Ryan Reynolds who approached him. It was Hugh Jackman who contacted Ryan Reynolds after seeing Deadpool, and then the two of them got together on that. But, like, universally, Hugh Jackman is, like, known as a really great, really nice guy, and for him to call Ryan Reynolds one of his best friends doesn't seem like lip service, and to come out of retirement to work with him, retirement of that character, I mean, obviously he's not retired as an actor, and then you have all the rumors that had surrounded Blade Trinity and how much Wesley Snipes didn't like Ryan Reynolds, but here he comes out of retirement to play Blade again, and not just to walk across the set, right? Like he actually plays Blade. Like it's all of these, and you can see in the interviews, going back to Deadpool 2, all of the press that Ryan Reynolds did with Josh Brolin. There's nothing but love there. So like it's just it's kind of like you can tell a person by their friends. In this case, I kind of feel that way, and I think that's one of the things that like I really like. I would hate to learn that I was wrong about this, because it shouldn't always, sometimes you should be able to separate the artist from the art. But in this case, I genuinely can't. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. We know that because he's broken the fourth wall to say it. Yeah.
I mean, to kind of go to your point, I think another thing to add is like, I guess we can sidebar into this character is Channing Tatum's Gambit movie was like Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool movie. He worked on it. He was very passionate about it. He's been trying to get it made for years. It's not happened. And when Ryan Reynolds made this movie, he knew how much Channing Tatum wanted to play Gambit, how much effort. And he's like, I want to give you that opportunity. Like and it's again, not a cameo. Gambit's not a cameo. It's not a walkthrough.
No,
he's not a fan service. He's a full part.
Gambit stuff.
And it could have been, and he could have, and honestly, he could have just gotten away with something as simple as having like a card thrown and then making some sort of crack about, no, you're never going to see Gambit on screen. You didn't see him before. Why do you see him now? Like, that's stupid for you to even think, blah, blah, right? He could have made some sort of joke about Gambit, and he could have gotten a huge laugh. And instead, you're right. He brought in Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Yeah, which
a very comic accurate suit, by the way.
I was going to say he is the most comic accurate in the movie. That is the most comic accurate character in the movie.
Yeah, is it okay if we pivot to design a little bit? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was blown away by the design in this movie. They worked so hard, I thought, and they did such a great job. It's the big things, like giving Wolvie his mask with the white eyes. It's the comet accurate Gambit suit. It's and different characters like there obviously the different Wolverine suits. We already talked about that in the New Year's Eve episode, folks. If you want to hear about it, go listen to that episode. You should have listened to it already anyway. What are you doing? But it was the little things too, right? Like, and not that this is, I don't think this is particularly insightful or anything or a deep dive, but like, they really sold us on Chris Evans as Captain America, because when he points at, like, when he says they're coming and he points and he's still hooded, you see red and blue on his arm, and you're like, oh yeah, here we go. And then he reveals that it's Chris Evans, and it's like, okay, we buy that it's Cap. So it's things like that from a design standpoint that they are the vision was very clear. There was nothing muddled about it. I think that's always been true of the Deadpool movies. They don't shy away from it looking like a comic book. And I'm glad they're not trying to, I don't feel like they're trying to make it realistic or anything like that. They're just, this is what it is, and it doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't have to, right? The MCU has flirted with that when Spider-Man, Cap throws a shield and Spidey goes, that thing does not obey the laws of physics at all. They flirt with it, right? And I think this is one of the reasons why the MCU has been more successful than the DCEU, is because DCEU keeps trying to be realistic, and I don't know why they're doing that. So I thought the design elements just continue to go above and beyond. The costumes, some of the way they filmed some of this, everybody's talked about the I don't know exactly what it's called, but the scrolling shot of the Deadpool's fight. That's a continuous take, right? And so there are a lot of really good elements like that I just really, the sound design as always is spot on. The music, I love the weird dichotomy of this music that's used in places that it doesn't belong, like listening to, oh gosh, help me out here, but what's the song from Grease that plays in the car in the Honda Odyssey?
Oh,
you're the one that I want. What is it?
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah, yeah. If I knew the name of the song, but
yeah, we don't know that. But we can all do the. But yeah,
Better wake up, because I need you now. Better wake up, because I won't sing. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I like the dichotomy of it. I enjoy that. So I thought the design work was really strong.
That song is called "You're the One I Want."
You're the one I want.
Sung by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
Right.
So
yeah.
Okay.
And it's the little things too, because even before that, when Wolverine is slamming Deadpool's head into the radio, The Greatest Showman comes on, which of course Hugh Jackman starred in. Like, it's things like that are just I really enjoy from a design standpoint.
The comedy in this film is funny. There have been so many CBMs, both Marvel and DC, where they try to insert comedy where it either doesn't belong or it's like they can't write it. Well, this comedy works. There's no eye rolling here. There's no like, it's a terrible joke. I heard that one before. It's and even if it's an old joke, the delivery. I mean, the timing between Jackman and
Reynolds.
Reynolds. It's just amazing. They're like Abbott and Costello. They're like Laurel and the Body. I mean, the timing is, because we've said this before. Comedy is timing. It's 95% timing, and the rest is material. But I was guffawing. I mean, I was on the floor laughing after this. Amidst all this blood and guts flying around, you're still laughing your head off. So I just think and for me, the biggest surprise in the film, and thank God I stayed away from spoilers and YouTube, when Chris Evans flames on, because I thought he was Captain America too. Sorry.
Yeah, I like the reveal of Chris Evans as the Human Torch, which was good because we wanted to. I think he wanted to revisit that character. I think also it was probably the only way Chris Evans was coming into this movie is if he could revisit that character, because up until recently we found out he's coming back into Avengers Doomsday. Chris Evans is returning. We don't know if it's Cap.
Not as Nazi Cap. Please don't make him Nazi Cap, because they do. I'm boycotting the movie.
I don't know what his capacity is. It's sort of
not go see a movie with Nazi Cap. No, because so terrible run of the comic book.
Yeah, I don't know what he's coming back as, but I know at this point in his career, he was not coming back as Captain America for Deadpool Wolverine. So it was nice to see him play Johnny Storm again.
Yeah.
And I mean that whole thing with Deadpool like saying how Johnny ran his mouth, and and then Cassandra Nova kills him, and then the joke is funny later on when he's in the den and Wolverine's drinking, and they're like, "You knew Johnny," and Deadpool saying, "He was my best friend," and I just love like the little snort Wolverine gives. Oh yeah, he's his friend, all right.
No, I mean there are a lot of those moments that I really enjoy, and I like a lot of I like the throwaway lines in this movie. I do like the big comedy, but the throwaway lines when you got him murdered. Hey, we're all grieving. Like those little throwaway lines. They just get me, and I love them.
Oh, the uniform joke about the NFL, about the LA Chargers, right?
No, the LA Rams.
The LA Rams, thank you.
Rams.
No, the LA moves around so much.
Friends don't let friends go out looking like they play for the LA Rams.
That was hysterical.
And I forgot what the line was Deadpool was saying to like Blade at Elektra. But they were like, he was saying something about his soul, and then Gambit's like, "You were like speaking to my soul." He was like, give this line where he's like, "You're speaking right to me, and everyone else is not getting it." Because Channing Tatum's Gambit, he went along also for making Gambit funny too. Like there was like, he didn't play him like as straight as Jennifer Garner and Wesley Snipes were playing those characters. He had some laughs with the character, and I thought it was well placed humor because Gambit is a funny character.
Mm-hmm.
And just before that, I like the exchange that he has with Wolverine. It's just common courtesy to ask a man before you go drinking up, ask me before you go drinking up all my liquor. And then he uses the cards so we get to see his powers. And then just this, it's just one of those little moments where Logan grabs a different bottle and goes boop boop boop. I don't know what it is, but like it's one of those things where like everything they did really tickled me. I felt like.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, the humor. There were one or two parts where I thought it was a little too much humor from Deadpool, and I understand why they were doing it. It was the discomfort that he was feeling and covering up with humor, but it dragged a bit long for me. Kind of like when he's at the door and he's going to sacrifice himself. A couple too many on the jokes, like the Spock joke, very funny, but like stalling and everything. Like I get it, but it's. What was interesting to me for this movie, and maybe I'm the only one who felt this way. I'll be curious to see what you guys think. But because this really made the jump into the like stakes of the MCU, right? Like the timelines are going to be undone. Like this is big. This is bigger than anything Deadpool's done before, and by a long shot, right? We know that in Deadpool 1, the stakes are very personal, and who cares from a world standpoint, right? And even Deadpool 2, it's like, sure, you can avoid some of the grim future, but like really we don't know that he stopped the grim future. What we know is that he saved Cable's daughter, and some of the other lives that he would have taken otherwise. I'm like, but because the stakes were so high for this movie, and because it was more an MCU movie than the other two were for obvious reasons, there was a weird middle ground where I understand Deadpool can stall as much as he wants because he breaks the fourth wall and he knows how the story turns out and blah, blah, blah. I think it gets harder to walk that tightrope when the stakes are that much higher. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but for me, like there are moments where it made sense, and then he's on the other side of the door, the timelines are being undone, like they're actively being undone, and he's messing around for like an extended period of time. And it just feels like it makes sense in the context of Deadpool, but I don't know how it translates to an MCU movie where the stakes are supposed to be so high. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I overthinking?
No, I think you're. It's a movie where if you look at it in the wider scope of where this fits in the MCU, I don't know if it neatly fits in the MCU. I mean, this movie, like, and especially with the montage at the end, is firmly rooted in sort of the Fox MCU universe. It's with loose ties to the primary MCU universe, mainly through through Loki.
Mainly
like if
through
you watch
Loki, right? Exactly.
Yeah, it's mainly the TVA, and it seems like in the universe, the TVA, the way that Paradox was speaking to Deadpool like they are also fourth walling it with the MCU and being part of the greater Marvel. Like they're aware that they're part of the MCU as well, which kind of confused me a little bit too. Is like because Deadpool's breaking the fourth wall, but so is Paradox. So is like people in because he's talking to him like I think like he's making allusions to like the greater thing that we're all. It's very meta. It gets meta confusing a little bit in some areas. So I don't know how Deadpool works in the greater MCU because it's just this movie is unique and it's brilliant and it's well done, but it's I don't know if I don't even know if Deadpool is a background character. I mean, as Ryan Reynolds has said, he's like, I'm not sure when Deadpool's coming back again. I don't know if I'm doing a fourth picture. He said like he's like, I'm not doing a fourth picture anytime soon because this one nearly killed me to make. I think he said his wife would kill him also if he did another Deadpool movie.
It's not getting any younger too. Yeah, this type of stuff.
I do like the joke, as you mentioned last in the New Year's podcast. The joke that Hugh Jackman will be doing this till he's 90.
Till you're 90. I do. I love it.
But yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, Chris, because I don't know, thinking about it, if Deadpool works, because it's not like anything we've seen in the MCU before.
Well, actually, we have. Can anybody remember? It wasn't a movie.
TV show?
Yep.
Oh, like WandaVision?
No, She-Hulk.
Oh, She-Hulk, yeah.
So here's my thing, and I know this is going to be, I think this will be an unpopular take, and that's okay. I enjoyed She-Hulk. I had fun with She-Hulk, and personally, I think the way that she broke the fourth wall, for me, worked in the MCU. And I think the reason it worked is because the stakes were so low.
Oh, yeah.
I think the stakes are street level instead of multiverse demolishing, right? And so I think because the stakes were so low, being able to break the fourth wall really worked on that level, just like it worked in Deadpool's 1 and 2, where you're talking a very personal story, you're talking street level, as opposed to cataclysmic event. So for me, and this sounds weird because I should note that again, I love Deadpool, the way the way the movies are done. I love the breaking of the fourth wall. I love I can gently tap the fourth wall too. The proposal. Like nice pool, like it all cracks me up. It does. But I think that in the context of the MCU as a whole, for me, She-Hulk actually did breaking the fourth wall better than Deadpool versus Wolverine. I think that was primarily because of the stakes and what was in play.
Well, yeah, because at a certain point, Deadpool, with the stakes so high, is almost like the fourth wall breaking, like the Watcher. He's almost like Uatu.
Yes, yeah.
Like it's like he's breaking the fourth wall with the Watcher. Like, things are these. I'm gonna tell jokes while the Watcher like usually narrates like heavy prose or something like that. But
right, it's actually kind of surprising. That might have been a missed opportunity of him like sitting with the Watcher, like Yeah,
but see, like Deadpool's kind of like a meteor about to strike this planet of 10 billion people, and it's just a cosmic joke. And I think that's what I got it, because I didn't see this movie as being a part of the whole, but he's such a jokester that the universe, as we understand it, and I hear these astrophysicists speak about it, I get lost. But there's a sense that the universe, for all its cohesiveness, is really a joke at some point, because it's entropy, it's falling apart, and I think Deadpool is entropy, and so to me it's like, why wouldn't he be like joking around with all reality at stake all the time? And there's nothing we can do about it, maybe to laugh about it, because it's just a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious that's Deadpool's defense mechanism, is to make jokes in the face of horrible things happening. By the way, Chris, just to go back, that would have been a funny joke if they would gone for it. Like Deadpool says, "This guy gets it," and they point to the Watcher off screen. Like,
and the Watcher's kind of like, "Leave me out of it" or something like that. Yeah.
But to go back to I mean, because some people, when this movie first came out, after I saw it, I was like looking at YouTube, reviews of just people analyzing like we do, and I guess some people were like, what were the stakes for Deadpool? I mean, Was he like he really cared? Like I guess he was only doing it for those 5 people in the picture. I don't know if he cared about the greater universe because like what's his motivation to save the universe was to save it to show Vanessa that he could be, I guess, selfless.
Yeah.
So I guess that those were his stakes, like which I guess are pretty low, even though the stakes are he's saving the universe. The real stakes is he's trying to prove that he is someone who can do something selfless or can work at a higher level.
Well, I think the stakes for him are high because it's personal, right? Like anytime, like let's be honest, like when we look at our own lives, what does it take to ruin our day, right? Like there are some really bad
mobile
things.
companies.
Sorry,
switching mobile companies.
Yeah, or our sports team doing badly,
Yeah.
right? I mean, God forbid you be a Giants or a Jets fan right now. But like the stakes for our personal lives are really high. And then something horrible happens halfway around the world and we're sad about it. But like, if we don't have personal stake in it, like it doesn't ruin our day the way that like some personal stuff does. So like from that aspect, like the stakes for Deadpool are very high. It's just as a viewer, kind of less so, like from an objective standpoint, right? Because that's the other reason that like up to this point he hasn't really been an Avenger because all the Avengers have dealt with Omega level threats, and he really, hasn't.
Right. And also Deadpool, I guess, is like most like I don't even know if is Deadpool a villain. What, did he start out as a villain, Joe? Was he like was he like an anti-hero?
I mean, I guess he was an anti-hero. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm sure Akko would set us straight about it.
Because it's the movies, at least from my understanding, again, not reading a lot of Deadpool comics, that seem to make Deadpool like obviously he kills people for money. That's what he used to do, kill people for money.
Right. He's a mercenary. He's the
merc with the mouth, right? So
yes, so he's a mercenary, which is I guess
he's showing the hex with a sense of humor.
Yeah, so I guess you like kind of wherever your opinion is of what a good guy is can vary, but he's definitely more of an anti-hero than a hero, and so it's the movies. It's the movies that make him into, I guess, the star and the hero of the show, or at least his intentions have changed over the time.
Sure.
Well, we've had anti-hero movies forever, especially since the '60s and on, where the anti-hero is, Michael Corleone, right? People like that, right? So the anti-hero can be the hero. What's the old saying? The villain is the hero of his own story.
Yes. Yeah. No. You're right.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Wolverine's technically an anti-hero too.
But yes, yeah. He's. A question just about Wolverine. We see the different. We saw him in the classic brown and
tan.
What was it? Tan. Thank you. Did we see him as Patch?
Yes.
At any point? I must have missed that.
We see him twice. Once when he's up. Once when Deadpool is approaching him, calls him Patch, and then when the various Wolverines are murdering Deadpool. Deadpool is on his knees near the poker table and gets Wolverine's Patch's claws through his head.
Okay. All right. Gotta go back a much.
Yeah, we got the whole. I think all the classic Wolverine, the primary classic alternate Wolverines. We got them all.
That was great. It's great.
Yeah, we got them all. So, yeah, it just I don't know if we really talked about it, but I like that they included X-23 Laura in this.
Yeah, Laura Keene.
Yeah, Daphne Keene in it. I thought it was nice that they kind of brought her back from Logan. I'm assuming that's the same X-23 from Logan got put in the void for whatever reason that we don't know. But I thought that was nice to kind of see her character continue, or to give a second life to that character after how brilliant she was in Logan.
That was the I think one of the only cameos that didn't surprise me. It made sense to me that like, if you're bringing back Logan, you're going to bring back X-23. So I was glad they did it. I thought she was great. And that was the one cameo that I think nobody was surprised by, but everybody was happy about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that scene, as we've spoken about, the scene around the campfire is the best. I think Hugh Jackman acting to his highest level as Wolverine, and also her words of inspiration, or her words of saying you allowed me to have a life, you saved me, and which I guess is the turning point for him to be in the trunk of the Honda Civic when they drive into battle into Cassandra's
That cars.
base.
I love when movies take a prop, like a car,
Honda
and turn
Odyssey.
it and
Oh,
turn
Honda
it,
Odyssey.
yeah,
Sorry.
All right, I had to say it.
turn it into a more than a prop. It takes on a life of its own. It's like, the DeLorean, obviously, the Batmobile, the mini versus the Batmobile, the Batman movies. But this Honda Odyssey was, boy, that car take a beating. Oh my god!
And again, more great jokes, right? Like, just a lot of the delivery of it just absolutely does it for me. As they're fighting for Deadpool to take a timeout and say, "I take it back. The Honda Odyssey F's hard to get you." And then for Wolverine, and he does. I think that's the other thing I like about Deadpool with Wolverine is a lot of Deadpool's jokes set up Wolverine. So whereas he delivers that line, and then Wolverine gets to say, "Oh, we're just getting started, bub." And I don't know that we hear him say "bub" a lot in this movie. We hear him say it a couple of times.
Yeah, they never do it.
That's one of the few times that I can recall offhand that it's like, "Oh no," he says, "We're just getting started, bub." I like that.
Yeah, I agree. I also like the selective movie magic with how much damage they both, what damage remains after their fights.
Yeah,
because their clothes should be to shreds
Tattered.
in the movie.
Yeah.
But Hugh Jackman just Logan just has a few tatters on his chest.
I have the answer for that: unstable molecules.
Oh, there you go.
Thank Reed Richards.
Maybe Hank Pym built Wolverine's suit, or Reed Richards built Wolverine's suit. Yeah. Because how many times they've shot, or I guess the suit that the TVA made for Deadpool, the same thing. How many times Wolverine stabbed him in the head, the chest, the leg, the arm. Yeah. When I watched it the second time, what? I don't know if they're really keeping the score on the damage their bodies are receiving.
Well, I mean, Wolverine's had to be almost whole for it to explode off his chest at the very end, which again, movie magic, perfectly done. It was like all those little moments. I mean, yeah, even the stuff they play for humor, it works.
Yeah,
it does work.
It all works.
It does work. I mean, I think that scene with his chest stuff, aside from being able to play it for comedy, for how how good looking Wolverine is, how good looking Hugh Jackman is. I'm sure also some of it is I guess people always think based on how old Hugh Jackman is, did he really get into full good shape?
I watched some reaction videos and people were like, "I know it's CG, but it's like no, that's his body. The glowing is CG." But the abs are not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work for Hugh Jackman to be, which is why I think partially why he originally retired from the role is it's a lot. It's 6 months of his life to get ready to just play Wolverine.
Well, and he said the worst thing is the eating, right? He doesn't enjoy eating because it's just chicken all the time.
Yeah, probably chicken and rice.
Yeah, and so he has said how difficult it is, and other actors have come around and said the same thing. But I don't know that anybody puts in as much work as Hugh Jackman does. Like everybody else, every other hero, it was Paul Rudd did it, Chris Pratt did it. These guys that were nominally good looking. Paul Rudd's always been good looking. Chris Pratt nominally good, but they got in shape. And every person had talked about how tough it was to get in shape. But Hugh Jackman has done it for every movie in which he is Wolverine, and he has always looked stellar.
Yeah, he pins up what let's say a Jim Lee drawing of Wolverine. Is
yes,
I gotta match that.
What sitcom was Chris Pratt in?
Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, he was a bit of a porky guy there. If I remember.
Oh, it was great because when he was casting Guardians of the Galaxy, when he comes back in the season premiere of that season of Parks and Rec, the character had been in London for a little while, and he looks a lot trimmer and more in shape, and he just makes a joke about, "Oh yeah, I just don't drink beer every day. I was probably drinking too much." And that's the explanation is he basically just
Perfect.
He didn't stop drinking beer. He just cut back on beer. And so they did. They skated over. And I like
the beer got a beach body.
Yeah. But you also don't see Chris Pratt's body after that in Parks and Rec. You've seen it before that, before he got in shape. But then they just didn't show it again. after that point. Um, yeah, I think it's more. I know that a lot of people. This is a little bit of a short tangent. I'm going to keep it short though because I want to stay focused on the movie. But this is I think one of those things that people continuously fail to understand about art in general is not understanding the work that goes into it.
Mhm.
People can mock all they want. They can say what they want about must be nice to get paid millions of dollars just to work out and pretend to be a superhero. But it's like it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to put in. You've got to have that commitment. And yes, they're set up to succeed. And yes, the money helps with that. And I hear all of that. But like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how much work goes into making entertainment. I mean, you said it earlier that this movie nearly killed Ryan Reynolds. Hugh Jackman's talked about this kind of thing before. All actors at some point when they're busy and they're working, they're talking about how much they love it, but also how it almost killed them at one point or another.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it all goes back to David Prowse almost killing Christopher Reeve to
there
get
you
him ready
go.
for Superman the movie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Darth Vader.
it's it's hard work, and I appreciate, and I think that's the thing that gets me, and why I keep coming back to Hugh Jackman and his performance in this movie, and especially with that scene where he rips apart Deadpool in the in the Honda Odyssey, is um is that in a lot of ways you didn't have to show up for this movie. The movie was going to take care of itself. The design was going to take care of itself. The fact that you were back as Wolverine was going to take care of itself. You didn't have to do this to win us over, but you were in, so you were all in. And not all actors can say that. But in each Deadpool movie, I don't feel like people phone it in. I feel like everybody is there 100%. And that's something that I appreciate is that commitment. I think that's the only way that movies like this really, really shine and stand the test of time because what happens when we're done looking at the pretty costumes and the surprises of the cameos wear off. We've already seen it. Like, do these have any replay value? And these do, and I think that's because of the commitment to the roles and to the story.
And back to the Honda Odyssey once again. One of the most important, if not the most important, confrontation between the two principals takes place within this little compact car. What a choice by the director and the writers to stage that. And like you said, Chris, there's a lot of work has to go into it. And I can imagine shooting that sequence must have been grueling, to say the least. It had to be. It had
Yeah,
to be.
really,
So,
really creative stuff, and
yeah.
I really appreciated that. So I think that's the thing is that I think these movies, unlike some others in the MCU, I think they'll stand the test of time. There are some movies that, now that I have a plethora of comic book movies to watch, I probably won't go back to. I don't need to watch them again. The Deadpool
I feel the
movies,
same way.
I will happily revisit, and I think we see that um, with other movies too. Um, I was thinking about this because around a couple of weeks ago, we went to go see the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra. They will accompany films, and the one they did was one of the ones they did was Muppet Christmas Carol. Um,
Oh, great.
yeah, which great movie. Um, but it's fun to watch, and I've seen this meme everywhere. But it says basically that there's a reason why Muppet Treasure Island and Muppet Christmas Carol work, and it's for opposite reasons. It's because in Muppet Christmas Carol, Michael Caine treats all of the Muppets as fellow actors, and in Muppet Treasure Island, Tim Curry acts as though he is a Muppet. Um, and I like both of those approaches, but it's two masters of their craft, um, not phoning it in just because they're working with Muppets. And you've heard this as the years have gone on. All these stars who are actually thrilled to work with Muppets. They're thrilled to work with Muppets and the puppets on Sesame Street. Because they grew up watching them, and what an honor to be with Kermit the Frog or Big Bird or so all these different characters, and or Kermit the Frog, and I love that people take those kinds of things seriously because that lends more power to it and it gets staying power. And again, looping it back in, I think that's one of the things that works about Deadpool is like the commitment to the thing, even the jokes and stuff, the commitment to the vision is really what is going to make these movies, in my opinion, stand the test of time.
I think it's the commitment to the source material too. We've spoken about how much
Sure.
Hugh Jack. I mean, I think he takes his role as Wolverine very seriously and a lot of commitment. And when he was alive, he thanked Len Wein for creating this character for him to
Sure.
portray and to embody. And I think Ryan Reynolds probably feels the same way about Deadpool. I don't know if he's probably thanked Rob Liefeld. I don't know if he has, but he definitely takes the source material very seriously that he's drawing from. I think that's the same true for, I don't know. I don't know Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, but they definitely, whether or not they read the comic books, they definitely take the character, I think, very portraying them to that level or to what the script demands and the story demands. I think they take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the movies work. Like I said, we're hoping James Gunn will do the same thing for Superman, and he's taken the source. He definitely knows the source material, loves it.
Right. Honestly, the moment they bring in Crypto, right? Like the moment they bring in Crypto, it's like, okay, he doesn't look like a wolf. He's just a dog. He happens to be a super dog. Yeah. And he gave Guy Gardner the bowl cut. Those two things tell me you're committed to the source material, and you're not interested in. Not that you're not interested in telling a new story or anything like that, but that you're not trying to it's the story is the important thing, or the source material is the important thing, rather than you putting your stamp on it.
Well, I think if you honor the source material, you can tell new stories. But if you're like here telling a new story and you don't care about the costume or the way the character looks or the way like Deadpool Wolverine's a new story. I mean, they've teamed up before, but what they're doing now is a new story. But because the material and the actors are so in there, like I will watch them do something new. Like I don't need to know like what they're doing because they're portraying these characters in such a serious, grounded, and respectful way that they could go off. They could go do Deadpool Wolverine the musical. I'm still in.
Right.
I'm sure.
Right. No. I mean that, and that's fair. I mean, if you're, it's harder to get me on board if it feels like, or impossible to get me on board if it feels like you don't respect the source material. Zack Snyder, sorry, excuse me, something stuck in my throat. Apologies.
It's okay. Zack Snyder, yes. Justice League. Oh my God, what a mess that was.
Yeah.
The 4-hour version is a little bit better, but it's too damn long. But
yeah, I've heard. I still haven't seen, and I probably never will, and I'm okay with that.
It took me an entire afternoon to watch it. About 6 or 7 hours to watch it.
It took me 4 days to watch it.
Oh, God.
Because I watched an hour a day or an hour and a half. I don't remember. Was it 4 hours or 6 hours?
James, if that was where your head was at, I could have just sent you a pair of thumb screws, and you could have done that for 4 days instead.
I was like, well, I'm not going to watch this all the way through, but I'll watch it. I was sort of like, because I'm also the person who watched Batman, Superman, Dawn of Justice, the 4-hour version.
Oh, yeah, the ultimate version.
There was an ultimate version.
Oh. Yes, there was.
Which the ultimate version,
actually,
it's not saying it's good. Is actually explains the Lex Luthor character more. And I was like,
while
I enjoyed it, I was like, I don't think your movie should need the ultimate cut for me to understand the theatrical cut.
I'm sorry, you don't need 4 hours to tell that story. You just don't.
Yeah, no, you don't need that. So. Anyway, we should end more with Deadpool Wolverine and not the Zack Snyder.
Yeah, no, that's not Zack Snyder.
So, is there any aspect? Did we not? Is there anything we did not cover about this movie that we?
Let's see. I got a couple of flashbacks. IMDb score is 7.6. I think it should have been an 8 at least, but that's not a bad score.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
94% fan rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the most successful R-rated movie?
It is. Yeah.
History?
In the box office. Yeah.
The box office? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
That's enough said, right?
I mean, I guess now this is the end of the multiverse saga. As Deadpool said, I hope they take Deadpool in the movie said, let's be done with the multiverse.
Oh, please, let's be done with the multiverse, yes.
But I guess, this is always the good part of the show when we talk about these things, just to our own speculation. Do we want to see a sequel, or do we want to see these characters show up in future MCU projects at this point?
I would love to see a sequel, but not a multiverse sequel. I'd like to see more of a down-to-earth Deadpool Wolverine movie, but like Chris was talking about the stakes before and whatnot, but something that's a little less cosmic. And so, yeah, you give me more of these two characters. They're wonderful to watch on the screen. It's a joy to watch them.
I don't care.
Okay.
I it's if you tell me that there's another one coming out, cool. I'm there, take my money, I'll watch it. But I felt that way about a lot of the Marvel movies. Like in general, like there's some I'll see in theaters. Deadpool is one of them. There are others that I'll just wait till they're out on, they're streaming or whatever.
Mhm.
But I don't and I think this is just a personal thing, right? I don't begrudge anybody who says one way or the other. I think I'm just very much at that point where because I go watch so few movies because I have a little bit of comic book movie fatigue. Because I'm kind of like I have what I need, and now I start to understand why. As we get older, some people are like, I don't need any. That was my Superman, that was my Batman. I'm like, I was talking about this actually with a friend of mine last weekend. We were talking about the live action How to Train Your Dragon, and he was like, I don't. It's only been 15 years since the first animated How to Train Your Dragon came out. Why are we doing this? And like Moana 2 just came out. Why is
Mhm.
the live action Moana upcoming? The movie's not that old. 2000. Oh gosh, I'm gonna forget now. I don't want to say it's like 2012, but no. It has to be more recent than that. It doesn't matter. Anyway, um, with regards to How to Train Your Dragon, the live action, good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter to me. I will probably see it in theaters just so I can see the test drive scene on the big screen because I've never gotten that. So watching Hiccup ride Toothless for the very first time when things almost go to hell in a handbasket, I want to see that on the big screen if they do it shot for shot kind of thing. Um, but otherwise, if it crashes and burns, I still have my animated How to Train Your Dragon, right?
Hmm.
I feel the same way about these characters. Is I've got 3 Deadpool movies. I'm good. If you show me another one, I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I'm almost certain that I will enjoy it. If these guys come back together between the acting chops, even if the story is garbage, I'm sure the banter will be good. Because the story isn't what sold. We never really talked about it. The story never really did it for me in this. It was fine, but like it was everything else that sold me on the movie, and the story was fine. Um, so I don't care if they bring these characters back or they don't. If they do, great. But also these guys have gotten to play their characters, so they're set. I don't feel like they need other movies to explore it. Whereas it's like I'd like to see Gambit happen now. I'd like that for Channing Tatum,
Mhm.
and I'd like that for Gambit fans. I feel the same way about I love the actor who plays Kamala Khan. I love her so much. I love gosh, I'm gonna Simu Liu, who
Yeah.
plays Shang-Chi. I want him to play
Okay.
Shang-Chi again. It's things like that that I'm like, I want to see those actors get a chance to close out their arc. That was one thing I loved about Deadpool and Wolverine was that you had these actors who got to bring closure to these characters that they otherwise might have been robbed of, like Elektra, like Blade, like Human Torch. These actors get to bring closure to some of those characters that they thought they were probably going to get to play again, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see some more. I'm more invested in seeing some of that than I am in seeing these guys who've already played these characters a bunch of times. Not because I wouldn't enjoy it, but because do it or don't do it, I'm good either way. My very
Yeah.
long answer to your very short question.
No, I like that. That's why I threw it out there. I was hoping to get the full answer. Yeah, no, I think would it be exciting to see Hugh Jackman Wolverine play with the rest of the MCU? Yeah, but I don't want him or Deadpool to be a cameo in a much larger, like Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret War. I don't want just like 5 minutes with these guys. Like, oh, there's just 5 minutes in the background, and am I still going to see those movies? Yeah, but for these characters, I don't necessarily need to see them just for 5 minutes just to say Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds were in Avengers Secret Wars because of the way that movie's structured and the way that storyline's structured and sort of like, yeah, so I'm in for another one. I don't know. I don't want them, if they're going to be in other movies, I would like them to be more of characters fleshed out and have significance and not just walk across the screen. but we'll see.
Totally.
I'm sure Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds will do whatever Kevin Feige asks them to. And again, I'm still in for those movies, but I prefer more for these characters at this point. I would like to see the Channing Tatum Gambit. I know a lot of people go back and forth online about whether or not he's the best portrayal of Gambit. I think he shows his passion and his love for the character. I think he deserves a shot. I think it would be a fun movie.
Yeah, screw those people who are like, I don't know if he'll make the best Gambit. Okay, well, have everybody play Gambit. Everybody in the world can play Gambit, and then you tell me which one the best one is. That way you can all disagree. No, screw that. I think the man's earned it.
I think he's earned it. And I would also, at this point with the Blade movie being what it is, I would love to see a Wesley Snipes treatment of a Logan version of the Wesley Snipes Blade, like Blade the Final Hunt or whatever. You know, whatever. Let's really give Blade the send off, because as I've said it before, and at some point in this podcast we'll do it, I think the Blade, the original Blade, is what really led the MCU to where it is today. That's the first like successful, I think.
They predated X-Men in 2000.
It predated X-Men, like you know, like it's kind of built on his shoulders. I would say.
I want to revisit this idea at some point, because I also think it was a double-edged sword, no pun intended, in that the success of Blade also made some people learn the wrong lesson and say, I get it, superheroes need to be grittier and darker, and then people will pay to see them. They can't wear the spandex that we see in the comics, because that makes no sense. So put them in leather.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think we should at some point do Blade the movie as an episode.
I haven't watched Blade in literal decades. That'd be great.
One, to see if it holds up. I feel like it will. I mean, I remember it being great. And two, just the kind of the lessons that you know, because you could go back, I guess, say Christopher Reeve really made the MCU and everything happen. But, you know, when we hit Superman 4 and Batman and Robin,
right,
that kind of like, almost tanked.
The wheels came off the wagon, yes.
Yeah, the comic book, the CBM almost went was gone for a long time, like of actually, you know, of doing it well and successfully until Blade.
Batman and Robin was what, 1997?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Only movie I almost walked out on, and I didn't walk out because I didn't have a ride. I was like, I would be like, I guess I don't know where I'm going.
Being practical.
It wasn't as bad as Superman 4, Batman and Robin, but it was terrible.
Yeah, it was the ice you later, I think, that got me. But
it was the nipples on the bat suits for me.
The plastic ice, yeah.
The plastic ice, yeah. The ice that kind of moved when they walked past.
It's plastic.
Yeah, so anyway, let's not go down another rabbit hole. So
yeah, we too many rabbit holes.
So I think we did it. I think we talked about Deadpool, Wolverine. And any final thoughts, or I think we gave them all at this point.
No, I'm sure that if we missed something or misstated something, Arco will let us know about it, and I hope that's
yes, please. We missed a couple of folks on this episode, and you know that happens, but we definitely missed y'all.
Yes. So yes, behind the curtains, there were some other guests we were hoping to have, but you know, you got the original trio, which is just as great. So, and those guests will be on in future episodes. So. And if there is anything we missed, Arco, Keith, or anyone else listening out there, please give us your thoughts about the episode. Listeners in general, whoever's listening to this episode, we'd love to hear from you. I know we have a good, solid group of regular listeners. We'd like to hear some more comments from you. So please go to the Facebook page at Secret Origins Mint Condition. If you're listening to us on Spotify, you can make comments with the episode there. If this makes it to YouTube, which we'll see, and hopefully it will, and you're listening to this, we'd like to hear your thoughts on Deadpool Wolverine. We always want to hear your thoughts, comments. You know, we try to build the community. So, but I could not have done this episode without my other two hosts. So thank you so much, Joe.
You're welcome, James. Pass the brewskis.
And thank you, Chris. Yep, glad to be here. Had a lot of fun talking about it. Obviously, we all enjoyed it, so good times.
Yes. And listening audience, thank you as well. And we will talk to you on the next episode.